Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of July 16, 2023. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now, and boy, is this a very special time. So, this week has three big celestial events taking place, and we are going to touch on all of them. And I'm going to start with one of the events that I've been getting a lot of questions about, more than any other celestial event in a while. It is this Venus retrograde season that is very much in focus for so many of us out there. And it is at the end of the week. It'll either be Saturday or next Sunday, depending on where you are on the planet, that Venus officially goes retro in the sign of Leo throughout this week, slowing right down, is essentially standing still in the sky this week, next week, and it is Venus in Leo that I am going to talk about first. I touched on it last week. I talked about celebrity in particular, and it's so interesting to me that as Venus is standing still at the height of her power, closer to the Earth than she otherwise normally is, and hanging tight a conversation with Pluto. In fact, when Venus changes directions, officially changes directions, is less than half a degree away from an exact quincunx to Pluto. Now, if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. It is a celestial conversation, and with Pluto, there's a lot of intensity and pressure as well. Venus, of course, in Leo, the sign of celebrity. So, what do we have? We have this power struggle thing that has sort of popped up now, but has been a long time coming, just like Pluto tends to do, that has led to the strike that is taking place right now as we begin this week. And that's just one manifestation of this Venus now at the height of its power. Now, a lot of the questions, if not all of the questions, really come down to, can I do this? Can I do that? What about doing this? And so part of me thinks like maybe there's fear around Venus retrograde. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that this Venus retrograde speaks to, but also, just as importantly, what it doesn't, and when it is that you don't need to worry about Venus retrograde. And so Venus has to do with the aesthetics of life. And what that means is, in some ways, we could say the superficial. And that's not to say anything negative about these qualities. It is about celebrating your unique beauty, however it is you do that, making things beautiful as you consider what beautiful means to you, whether that's in your space, whether that's in your environment, whether that's with your work, whether that's with yourself, and beautifying yourself in a way that is pleasing to you. It is about the physical incarnation in terms of how we indulge and pleasure. So things like massages and facials are covered here, for example, and other beauty treatments as well as Venus, again, the aesthetics of life. That's what we're talking about here. Where it comes to money, it isn't about your bills, right? Your bills tend to be Saturn or Mercury. As Eckhart Tolle says, you don't have to worry about your bills. You have to pay your bills, but you don't have to worry about them. And bills that come along every month or every 3 months or every year that you normally do, the ins and outs of the world that we've created, that is not what Venus is about here. The other thing, some scenarios where Venus retrograde, you don't need to think about it. Let's say you have an accident and there is blood gushing from any part of your body. Don't worry about Venus retrograde, go to the hospital. If Venus comes into play at some point, we'll sort it out then and in the future. But for now, do something about staying alive, okay? If you are in pain anywhere in your body, anywhere, figure that out. Manage the pain, if only for right now, if only for the moment. Do what you need to do to not be in pain. Because when you're in pain, really nothing else matters. And if you're in pain, don't worry about Venus. Put Venus aside. Venus will be there when you come back to her. Get that pain resolved to the best of your ability so at least you can manage right now, especially if you're in pain. It's very hard to be present for your life when your body is making you present in an undesirable state of being that you don't need to be in. There's lots of advancements in medicine so that you don't need to be in pain anywhere. These are just some scenarios, okay? Your kid needs you to pick them up from school early. Something's going on there. They are being very colorful at school, and the school is asking you to come pick up your kids. That doesn't have to do with Venus retrograde. Go pick up your kids. Go take care of what you have to take care of. Venus about the aesthetics of life. These are not things that are necessary, first and foremost. We can get very exact as astrologers, right? We can say like, okay, if you are buying and selling property, what could be going on there? What planets do we need to pay attention to? What's happening in your chart specifically? That speaks to being able to involve yourself in real estate from a place and a moment of prosperity. That's fine. But it is Venus that's more about the things that you spend money on that are not necessarily essential to life or well-being. They don't have to do with the shelter you need to survive. It's about the things you enjoy that Venus speaks to. And what tends to happen with Venus retrograde is spending goes up, but it goes up towards those things that represent indulgence or enjoyment in some way. And the thing is, what we buy, what we end up consuming, when Venus goes direct, we might change our minds. That's it. We want something different. We get antsy for changing up our style, changing up our hair, doing something really different. But then Venus will go direct. And once Venus goes direct, you just might change your mind. But also, we don't realize why we want what we want in the moment. A good example is Katy Perry. Katy Perry almost always has had beautiful dark hair. And that's part of her distinction. And during a Venus retrograde, she cut off all her hair and went blonde, platinum blonde at that. And it was years later that she talked about how she did that as a way of coping through her divorce that she was going through. It was a physical manifestation of something that she wasn't ready to fully embrace and fully deal with. Does that mean everyone who cuts their hair is going through some difficult psychological moment of their life? Of course not. We need a change. We all need a change from time to time. If you've watched me for a while, you know I think it's just hair. Have fun, have at it, do whatever it is that feels right for you to do. Venus goes direct and you've chopped off all your hair and dyed it a color that you never dyed it before. With that direct, you just might change your mind. That's it. But it's hair, right? It's just hair. And that's the thing with Venus. It's just clothing. It's there for you to enjoy. It's just getting a massage. It's there for you to understand yourself. And yes, there are therapeutic forms of massage, of course. But I'm talking about the stuff that you do to enjoy yourself, to be in your body from a place of pleasure. And Venus, of course, is also love. If you meet somebody during Venus retrograde, meet them, have fun, enjoy it. If you get started during a Venus retrograde, once Venus goes direct, there will be key factors there that are likely going to be different. It doesn't mean it's worse at all. It just means different. And lots of people, especially with a Venus retrograde season in Leo, lots and lots of people are likely to want to dive into new relationships and feel the love and be surprised by love and how much they desire love. Now, love or lust might take us by surprise, especially with this Venus retrograde season, and especially with a week like this. The surprise factor's been there because, of course, It was not last week, but the week before Venus connected with Uranus. That's the shock quality there. But this week, Venus and Pluto, the intensity of that, the passion of that. Yeah, a lot of us, if you're open to connecting with other people, this could be things getting very hot and heavy very quickly. But the thing is, when we do that, we don't really know this person. It's so much more about us and who we are and what we really want. And that is what Venus retrograde is meant to show us and meant to teach us. What our heart desires, especially this Venus retrograde season. Someone may show up and become a focal point of what the heart desires, but are they someone to actually love, to actually be in relationship with? That is revealed after Venus goes direct. And so, especially with a Venus retrograde like this, it's not about making big life altering decisions where it comes to love. It's not a good idea to elope with someone without any kind of prenuptial or anything, especially someone that you just met. Like that's the surprise, very quick moving energy that this particular Venus retrograde holds. We may really believe we have found great love, and that's wonderful. But if it is that great love, let it pan out. Or we may meet somebody and we might think, oh my goodness, I really don't think this is the one for me. Well, wait for a minute. That doesn't mean you have to date them or even be around them at all. But chances are Venus direct will invite you to have another look, to look at it differently or more deeply in some way, to see what actually is there. When Venus is retrograde, we just don't know. Some things to add with this Venus retrograde season. Loves from the past, especially lovers and passionate interactions and people we dated from the past, as opposed to relationships, they can pop up. And with this kind of energy, they can pop up in a way that feels very intense. Maybe it's intense in a way that gets us angry, or maybe it's intense in a way that's very passionate. But there isn't a lot of stick to itiveness with this energy. There isn't a whole lot of, okay, now we've met again and now it's forever and ever. It's more about what awakens within us. And it gives us a chance to see the past differently in some way. And that's another reason why you don't want to make big commitments at a time like this. Just pace yourself. If it's something worth committing to, it can wait until Venus goes direct. I can promise you that. And this can also be a time when we find ourselves attracted to people very different than we were before, that we think this really is it. And there can be dramatic differences than those loves or attractions or people we dated of the past, whether that's a different demographic, a different lifestyle, a different background. Yes, there can be those differences from anyone we dated before, but then that can also be part of the fun. And the things we might learn about ourselves along the way can help us to love that much more as we navigate forward in our lives once this Venus retrograde season is over. And so, where it comes to beauty treatments, because this is something a lot of people have asked as well. If it is that you go every month for your facial, any type of facial, hydrofacial or whatever, you go every month to get that, then go, right? That's your regular routine thing. Go to the same person. Don't let that person talk you into a type of facial that you've never had before. That's where you do want to be careful. But if it's something very routine, very normal, nothing different, that's fine. But if it's something really new, that you haven't done before, you never tried that face cream before, that's the type of stuff you want to avoid to the best of your ability. Same thing with your hair. If you know every 2 months or 3 months you go get a trim, go get your trim. Don't worry about it. However, when you're there, don't let that hairdresser talk you into going platinum blonde if your hair is black. And if you find the urge to do that, that is inviting you to pause. Because what happens is we can get very caught up in the external of what we want instead of really focusing on the deeper desire that is there. And the deeper desire is to know our own unique beauty, to experience pleasure in our physical selves. The same thing applies to just about any kind of beauty treatments. There are some that you get every 2 weeks, others you get every 3 months, and so forth. Yes, the aesthetics of life, whatever it is that you do to keep yourself looking beautiful, whatever you consider beautiful to be, that's it. And we all have something, all of us, and we all have our own rituals in our own way. But Venus retrograde is saying, allow yourself to be still, to find a deeper beauty, but that doesn't mean stop living at all. Enjoy your life. Do what it is that you do. And if you have it to spend and it's not a big deal, have at it. Very common getting new clothes, right? Especially in our times of very super fast fashion. And that's fine. But what you don't want to do is throw out your old wardrobe. That's what you don't want to do. And so many, many years ago, before I was a professional astrologer, I remember I went through a period of time of almost a year where I only wore pink, pretty much. I mean, I varied it a little bit, but for the most part, all pink. And then something happened in my chart, and then I started wearing all black, like literally all black, and that was fine. And after over a year of wearing all black, Venus went retrograde, and I got this urge to wear yellow, right? I went out, I bought all these yellow clothes. I started rocking all the yellow. Then Venus went direct, and I said, thank goodness I didn't throw out my black clothes because I did not want to wear yellow anymore, period. That literally is a true story that happened to me many years ago, but it happened. So have at it, have fun, enjoy, right? Do the things that you enjoy. And if you want to experience romance and love and you want to dive in, go for it. However, make sure that if you're buying a whole new wardrobe, you don't throw out the old one, at least not just yet. And if it is that you meet someone new and you're in a whirlwind romance, which is so fun and gives you great stories, I'll be the first to admit it, there are great stories that come from whirlwind romances, but it's very hard to live in a whirlwind. After a while, it can become exhausting. And with this particular Venus retrograde, once Venus goes direct, we might be surprised by how exhausting that whirlwind actually was. And so pace yourself and be yourself, as I like to say. I think that pretty much answers every question that I've had, but particular individual questions I have been answering, especially on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find those links below where I actually took some of your questions and answered them as FAQ videos. But right now, yes, live your life, be yourself. What is in front of you to do, make sure you do that. But where it comes to the aesthetics of life, enjoy yourself and be yourself. And just know, Venus going direct, what you think is beautiful, what you think expresses your sense of style or fashion or beauty. Well, if you went through a big change at the start of the Venus retrograde, Venus going direct will have you going back to what it was before. And will have you getting honest about what your real motivations were, what was really going on within you that inspired you to change things up like that. Very often it's something deeper, especially at a time like this. And that can be a great thing. When Venus is strong, you're having some Venus energy in your chart, Venus activations in your chart. Yeah, nothing wrong with changing it up. No one says you have to have the same sense of style for your entire life. Let's hope not. But if that's you, great, do you. With Venus retrograde, if the urge comes to change your style dramatically and differently, possibly something else and something deeper is going on. And if you're not ready to look at that, that really is okay. Venus will go direct and you will. So that's Venus retrograde. Big news. Now, the other massively important news on Monday, the nodes will change signs. Sunday in some parts of the world. And it is the North Node that will move into the sign of Aries. This will be a slow-moving transit. The nodes change signs every year and a half. And so now here we are with the North Node representing a higher, more loving vision and will for our lives. And for the collective, the North Node in Aries is about owning our power, the sacredness and the privilege that we have to exercise our free will. It truly is a privilege. It's something that many people in the world just don't know and might never know because of their circumstances or the place that they were born, the environment that they're in, the opportunities available to them. And so when you have those opportunities, when you have the great privilege of being able to exert your free will, which is to work on your own behalf, to move your life in a positive direction, well, then it is a sacred honor to engage that energy. And so I think more of us are going to awaken to this power within us. There's going to be more emphasis on being able to own your power, to change your life, to take individual responsibility for your life. And there's also likely to be a sense of us as a collective wanting more people to move in that direction. And also, chances are with this, we start to see the higher vibration, expression, the higher understanding of why it was that the ancients thought that athletes were sacred. And even we look at soldiers and warriors and how it is that we can raise not just our perception and our perspective, but to honor the fullness of those roles that people might take on. And I think this is very much correlated to all the things that I said in the Chiron special horoscope. And I'll be sure to link that below because I think this is such a remarkable time for understanding not only the pain that can be caused when someone with physical power exerts authority over another, but when you abuse that power, it isn't just the abused, but it's the abuser that needs healing. Profoundly so. And what it does to a person to have to experience that, experience the truth of what they are perpetuating, the way in which we're treating others. And I think that is likely to come into focus at this time because the sign of Aries has to do with how we exert our anger, how we direct our anger. My hope with this is that more of us get a chance to really acknowledge what our true source of anger might be as a way of ultimately becoming kinder in the world and becoming kinder to ourselves, regardless of where we find ourselves in our lives, in our position. And that kindness can extend far and wide to all beings. And that is my hope for this sense of understanding that power comes with not just responsibility, but it comes with a privilege that should be honored, that should be treated with reverence and awareness as well. When we have that power, if we exert it unconsciously to create pain in others, well, whether that's beings, whether that's other human beings, whether that's our environment, well, there's something that happens to all of us that maybe we don't need anymore as part of our human evolution. Maybe we're ready to raise our understanding of our own power so that we focus it and exert it with consciousness and care. With the South Node moving into Libra, it becomes a lot about recognizing toxic patterns in partnerships and relationships. Chances are more of us are going to be willing to talk about that. We're going to be willing to look at that. And that includes the laws around how we get along with others and what partnership actually means. Consider this: whenever we have an important transit through the energy of Libra, it tends to change rules around marriage and divorce, our understanding of what that is, what responsibilities are, what the laws are as well, where those laws can be abused. And so I think there's going to be more focus on where it is that we engage other people from a place of perhaps at times toxicity, and where it is that we no longer wish to repeat that pattern. Now, a lot of these same themes might show up in terms of our understanding of business partnerships and dynamics that play out there as well, where there are power struggles or power games where we may form alliances that ultimately are not fair for whatever reason and whatever gains we might hope to make. Especially right now with so much focus on celebrity and the arts. Remember, Leo is the sign of the performer. So we already have that focus. It is Libra that is ruled by Venus. And so whatever is happening with Venus in some way is evoking that South Node. And I think we're really right now seeing the underside of that whole industry of acting, of performing, and what the reality is. And the reality is that very few people in that industry actually hold power, and very few people become millionaires. Those people who are in front of the camera, who actually do the performing, who tell the stories of humanity, of the world, who embody other people so that we might have empathy for them. What makes a good actor is that we can feel what they're feeling. We feel ourselves in them. We connect with them on that level. That's what makes a good actor. And when we can't do that, that's when we know this performance might not be for us. And so with that focus now, I think some of it is, of course, already showing up. With the South Node in Libra, I have to say, I think there are going to be negotiations that continue. If there are resolutions that happen very quickly, they may not be fair. Chances are they won't be fair. But there's a strong desire for those particular contracts and agreements to be fair now. That will is there, and it is particularly strong. So I do think chances are, especially with this doozy of a Venus retrograde season, Leo being associated with performers, well, chances are this strike that's happening right now is likely going to extend at least through the next few weeks of when we are in the most concentrated moment of the Venus retrograde season. Now we've got a new moon as well starting the week. I mean, if all of this wasn't enough, there is so much going on here. And this new moon in particular happening in the sign of Cancer. Now, interestingly, some of the best actors have very strong Cancerian placements in their chart because it is the energy of Cancer that speaks to the collective consciousness, not necessarily the collective unconsciousness. That is Pisces, where Saturn is. And so it is the energy of Pisces that has to do with film. It has to do with glamour and the illusion. Of course, Saturn is there helping us to get real of what's really involved. And what's really involved is lots of people working very hard, trying to move towards becoming middle class, really. And so we're in some ways getting real about the illusion that's been created. But of course, there is that focus on actors with Venus right now, moving through the sign of Leo, almost retrograde in the sign of Leo at that. And so now we get this new moon. This new moon is a powerful one. And what makes it so powerful, I mean, yes, it's making harmonious contacts with, in particular, Neptune, supremely harmonious contact with Neptune, somewhat of a contact with Uranus as well, harmonious. But it's opposite Pluto, and that is big. And it's opposite Pluto with some precision. On Thursday, the sun will be opposite Pluto, and Thursday is set to be a really intense day, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But all of this is to say that the energies now are heightened. There's a strong desire for new beginnings, and the sign of Cancer, it brings attention to family and country and patriotism across Pluto, where it is that family and family dynamics, but also where it is that patriotism becomes either something that we struggle over, or there are power games playing out there. There's awakenings, but there's also exertion. There's a sense of being forced into certain dynamics, but also a sense of resistance. There's healing with that trine to Neptune. That is so beautiful in energy. There's so much hope here. But the truth is, there's also this sense of considering other perspectives that can be challenging for us, whether we find those perspectives within our own family dynamics or we find those perspectives in the world family that we connect to, including the connection we have to our understanding of our country, why our country matters to us, and what it means to be from that country. Now, this is true regardless of where you're from. But what's interesting is this is a Cancer new moon. Canada and the United States have Cancer suns, other countries do as well. What that means is some of these themes could play out very strongly with those countries that have strong Cancerian placements. Just like people, if you have strong Cancer placements in your chart, chances are you're going to feel the energy, the somewhat conflicting energy here. There's hope and inspiration, but there's also that sense of needing balance. Perhaps power struggles, power games, they don't feel good, but they do help us to get honest about what we really feel. What would family actually do? What would they not do? Where is it that being around family is pushing our buttons in ways that doesn't feel healthy or doesn't feel right? That is going to be part of what awakens for us now, the appreciation of that, the awareness around that, but also the desire to have a fresh start, a new beginning, or perhaps just a new insight that changes so much for us now and moving forward from here. We can't do anything about the families we find ourselves in or even the country that we're born into. But we can decide whom it is that we want to be, what it is that we will contribute to the collective, whether that collective is family dynamics or that collective is a dynamic of a people, of a country. The things that you can feel good about by being from where you are, while also holding and knowing that it is better to feel good about the things that you control, including what kind of person you choose to be for yourself and in the world. If all of this wasn't enough, as I said, Thursday is a massively important day. What is happening on Thursday? Well, first, the sun will speak in supreme harmony with Neptune. This is so magical, so beautiful. And then hours later, we get Mars across Saturn. Hours later, the sun across Pluto. Wow, it is a roller coaster of a day. Now, depending on where you are on the planet and also what's happening in your own chart, some signs tend to feel things either right on the day or just before. And so I would give this energy a bit of a window here, especially through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Yes, it's likely to be a roller coaster. It starts off really hopeful and so high. And then we get that sense of, again, I'm seeing this need for balance. And in extreme cases, power struggles and power games. But for most of us, it's going to likely be a sense of stressor that we feel externally, but ultimately invites us to get honest with ourselves in at least one area of life. It is Mars in the energy of Virgo. And consider the contrast, Saturn and Pisces. Pisces is about the collective unconscious and the dream and the glamour and the fantasies we weave, a necessary part of being a human being. But there's also what we are actually living. What is the reality? What is the nitty gritty? What is our lives showing us? But also, what are we demonstrating? Because we can have a dream and we can say all these wonderful things, but how are we living it? What are we practicing? Where there is a dramatic difference between the two, we will likely become aware of that. But this can also be a sense of, I mean, look, Saturn is a principle of limitation. And it can feel as if whatever the dream is, the desire for that, the reality of what actually is are so far away that it can feel challenging. I'm sorry to say, but it does happen. But the thing with oppositions is They also serve as a turning point moment. Considering that hours later, the sun stands across the sky from Pluto, wow, that is a power struggle. Now, normally when the sun meets Pluto in the sky once a year, that is the most intense day of the year. And for many years now, that has basically happened during the winter. And so, especially since 2008, that's been happening in the sign of Capricorn, which kicks off the season of winter in the Northern Hemisphere. And considering that we're going to then have Pluto in Aquarius for about 20 years, and then Pluto goes into Pisces, well, yes, we're likely to experience the most intense day of the year in the winter for many years to come. However, the sun opposite Pluto is a close second. It's one of the more intense energies that we have, celestially speaking. And this is that energy of power struggle, power game personified, that much stronger. With the sun in the sign of Cancer, of the collective, of the people, especially what the people are feeling, what the people know about themselves, standing up to power in some way. We're already seeing it, and chances are we're going to see more of it. And in our own lives, this can be a truly intense moment of truth. Where is it that we are in dynamics that just are not healthy, just are not fair? And what is it that needs to change or transform? But this could also mean approaching difficult conversations or interactions, facing up to them, owning our part, but also deciding, in a sense, what people or interactions or dynamics, which ones are going to stay and which ones are going to go. What do we need to be healthy and true to ourselves, to take care of ourselves in the process and in this moment? Well, chances are in some way it will be illuminated for us through a moment of intensity that ultimately serves as an important turning point where we connect deeply with what we need to take care of us and the people we consider family, what needs to change, and we embrace that change moving forward from here. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Wow, what an incredible week. It is a very active and very important astrological week. I think a lot of us are going to feel as if we are in an important moment. It is a process, of course, all of life is. But this is one of those moments where we may start to recognize that we are in the midst of important times. As part of our individual journey in particular, that journey ultimately is bringing us back to self. The big signs that are highlighted with a week like this, for the most part, are the signs of Cancer and Leo. Leo is care and our roots and our ancestors and our families and our past and reconciling with our past. And then once we have the energy of Cancer, that is when we move and the energy starts to lighten in the energy of Leo. And Leo is about what we want in our heart of hearts in every area of life. It is about genuine joy and happiness and fulfillment and what that means to us, especially creative fulfillment at that. We will likely be invited to take the best of our past, of our ancestors, of our roots, the best of where we come from and how we understand that. But ultimately, that's a step to lead us to our own hearts, our own individual journey, whom it is that we are, what it is that's going to make us happy, and how now we can evolve the energy of the past, of our ancestors, so that it isn't about repeating certain patterns that maybe are no longer for us collectively, but also as part of our individual journeys as well. What does it mean today to live true to ourselves? That's a very important question when it comes to the energy of Leo. And what is it that we are loyal to? What's worth being loyal to, and maybe what isn't? That is the sign of loyalty, the energy of Leo. And I think a lot of us are going to find that where we are guided by heart, where we are guided by love, well, being loyal to those principles can only do wonders and good things for our own journey and for the collective as well. And thank you so much for watching. I'm truly so grateful for it. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, thumbs up, hit the notification bell. All of it means so much and supports the channel. Even if you do one of those things, it helps the channel as well. So thank you. And you know, I love reading your comments. And here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. And speaking of Venus, Venus retrograde special horoscopes are now up in the Superstar space or on my website, available for download at NadiyaShah.com. Thank you so much for your love, your support, and your trust, for valuing what it is that I offer astrologically. It means so much to me. And just getting one of these downloads, again, it helps me to continue to do what it is that I do in terms of having content on YouTube and other social media platforms and all the different ways I try to affirm love and wisdom in the world. This work has always been about inspiring hope in people who need it or people who want it. It has always been about affirming love and wisdom, no matter what time we are in. And I know that there are varying wants and needs that we witness in the world, various desires that we might experience, but ultimately having faith that it is part of our own journey towards greater love and greater wisdom, well, that is a position of strength, a position of openness that helps us to make the most of whatever moment of our lives that we are in. And that is the point of this channel, is to encourage people to choose love and wisdom no matter what they're going through. And so, yes, you're watching this video and all the ways in which you might choose to support my work. It all helps me to affirm that truth and to live that mission in the world. And for that, I am so grateful. So if you want to know more about Venus retrograde for your sign, every video, I think the shortest one was 20 minutes. The longest one was 40 minutes. So I created unique individual videos for each and every sign. And again, you can get that as part of some of the tiers of Superstar membership, or you can get them as individual downloads. All of that through my websites, NadiyaShahSuperstars.com and NadiyaShah.com. And did you know I have books? I have several books. I am the author of 4 books, co-author on another book, and all of my books are available at synchronicitypublications.com. Now, at Synchronicity Publications, because I happen to be, it is the boonies of Ontario. It is out there. I've been having a lot of fun, that's for sure. But yeah, I happen to be in a place where I can ship books, and shipments happen every 3 or 4 weeks. And if you purchase books now, you can get signed copies of books from me, but also you get free gifts as well. So you can find all of that and what the free gifts are, depending on what book you buy, at synchronicitypublications.com. And so Astrology Realized, my first and most popular book to date. This is a historical and philosophical background of astrology and also a guide to chart reading. So it's the beginner steps to help you to read an astrological chart. The Body and the Cosmos. This is me taking the ideas of Plato that he presents in Timaeus and applying it to an astrological zodiac. It includes meditations for each sign, connecting you to an understanding how the entire cosmos is connected to you on that level of body as well. My third book was Prayers to the Sky. I consider this like astrological magic light, or the beginner steps to that. And it includes ways to understand how to work with planets. It has mythologies, and then it gets into an understanding of how the ancients actually prayed to these planets. It includes prayers from the Homeric hymns. It includes prayers that I've written as well, ways in which to ultimately connect to parts of ourselves is what it is that I present here. The Universe is Wise and Loving, another popular book of mine. This is about the nodes of the moon. It is the opening chapters where I really was able to pour my heart into to state a case for astrology and its importance in the world. But of course, the nodes and the nodes changing this week as well might be a good time to reconnect with your understanding of these powerful karmic gateways in your own chart. And this book takes you through the signs and houses and transits and aspects of planets to your nodes and how to understand that. And finally, with my dear friend Yuridia Robles, it is her wisdom. She is one of the leading Mayan astrology academics and people in the world. And through several conversations with her, we co wrote a book together called Mayan Astrology. And this is an introduction as well. It takes you through the Mayan signs so that you can understand what it means for you, and it also presents a short chapter on compatibility so that you understand how the signs get along with each other. And so I hope that you enjoy these. I hope that you enjoy my books. You can get them as ebooks, and through Synchronicity Publications, you can get a real physical book signed by me as well. So I hope you absolutely love them. I hope that you enjoy them. And again, that's synchronicitypublications.com. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your trust. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for staying all the way to the end. These are the tried and true. These are the diehards, and I know it, and I love you for it. Thank you for staying to the end. I am grateful for you. And thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.